from Beijing. I'm Kate Kuei from CGTN. German Chancellor Olaf Scholz is visiting China this Friday, and he will be accompanied by a delegation of business executives and will be the first European Union leader to visit the world's second largest economy since 2019. Well, during the one-day trip on Friday, he will hold talks with Chinese President Xi Jinping and Premier Li Keqiang. Well, China and Germany are important partners to each other. There are about 5,000 German companies operating in China now, and there are more than 1 million jobs being created in Germany. China is also a major market for German products, especially for companies in the auto sector and chemical sector. Well, China is on the way to becoming the biggest revenue generator for many German companies. The two economies have a close relationship and are deeply intertwined. Given the dynamic geopolitical tension globally, Scholz emphasized in public that he was not in favor of decoupling with China. Well, companies with heavy investments in China, including Volkswagen and BASF, are also calling for a constructive business relationship with China. So today we are extremely honored to have 4 guests joining us live from across China and Singapore, representing German companies in China. They're Klaus Retting, who is the president of Asia Pacific Evonik Industries, and Jeffrey Fang, China General Manager from Bluthner Piano, and Xiang Luo, Emerging Markets Marketing Director, and also Lei Keting, who oversees corporate affairs in China for Bayersdorf. Xiao Lun, he is from Willow Group, and he oversees the emerging markets. So today we're going to have a very candid talk on the business environment and also, very importantly, China and China's contribution to their business. And also, we welcome their suggestions and what we can do better in China in terms of hosting those foreign direct investments. So gentlemen, good to have you today with us. Let me start from asking you this question. Over so many years' relationship with China, what is the most memorable thing? So Klaus, let me start from you first.
Gee, that's a difficult question. So maybe a little bit of background first. Evonik, maybe not that much known. We are a specialty chemical company. So we are actually one of the biggest specialty chemical companies in the world.
Right.
And we are in China for around almost 90 years now. So next year, we are going to celebrate our 90th anniversary of being in China. It was one of our predecessor companies that went to China first under the name of Degussa. So we have a very, very long history in starting as a trading company, but since the late 1970s, we are also in China with manufacturing. And I think the most memorable thing that happened to us was maybe the opening of our big China investment in Shanghai, in the Shanghai Chemical Industrial Park.
Right.
And,
you are in the right. You are in the special chemical industry, and you have a long-standing relationship in China market. As what your company introduction mentioned, I remember very clearly, you might not exist in the form of a rubber tire or any detailed thing, but every important products globally has a little bit ingredients from your company, and you are making everything more efficient. That's the value of your company. So we're going to get into that in more details later.
Okay.
So Bayersdorf. Okay, Bayersdorf. This is a brand, a household name in China for many, many years. So, Keting, can you please give us a little bit background? In your view, how does German brand associate with Chinese household over the past many, many years? I remember my grandma gave me the first can of Nivea cream.
Yeah, the blue team, that's what we call it. It's all iconic. And it's part of the German people's life. And we're very happy that we are the first, one of the first company that are coming back from coming to China back into 1980s. That at time we called the policy is called 三来一补, 3+1. And later on in 1994, we become the single-digit joint venture. Later on, 2000 become the whole fee. And we enjoyed digital growth for a decade after China entered WTO. So we not only witness, but also enjoy the growth of China's in the past. And it's happy to bring this product, not only the product, but also being part of the China cosmetics flourish that everyone nearly now, you can't live without cosmetics in these days. So it's so good to be part of our people's life.
Right. Is China now your biggest market?
Well, to some products, for example, we have the W630. If I have the opportunity, I'll mention that later. It is nearly became one of our biggest market worldwide.
Right.
Nearly. We'll be in there somehow next year.
Right. Okay. So Jeffrey found a Bluthner piano. Jeffrey said that before the show he told me that he would like to conduct this interview in Chinese. So I'm going to translate for him. So Jeffrey, you're from Bluthner Piano. This is a high-end piano brand in Germany for many years. It has a very long history and a very well respected. So give me a little bit background about how this brand associate with China market. Jeffrey, 你跟我们简单讲一讲这个特别高端的 Bluthner 这个钢琴的品牌是怎么样进入中国市场的？这些年在中国市场大概发展的情况怎么样？谢谢，我来帮您翻译。
非常感谢。那伯兰斯勒呢是全世界最顶级的钢琴，起源于1853年的莱比锡。伯兰斯勒怎么进中国的？有一段非常有意思的故事。那就是我碰到总裁，我应该是2006年碰到总裁，我说欢迎你们进中国做一个 Bluthner China。他当时告诉我，我不需要，我们生意很好。我说做伯兰斯勒 China 不是为了现在，是为了10年以后。现在证明这个决定非常正确。
Right. So basically, Jeffrey was telling us that Bluthner is a brand with a very long history, more than 100 years history, originated from Germany. And when the founder discussed with him the entrance to the Chinese market, Jeffrey proposed a joint venture with him. And he basically said, they're not really in a rush. But Jeffrey persuaded him, saying that coming into China is not for any imminent result, but you're rather preparing for 10 years later. 来 ，Jeffrey， 您接着说。所以10年以后呢？
非常棒。10年以后，我们在中国已经有了3个工厂。
Right.
我们11年是广州省政府在香港把我们引进到中国。11年的时候是跟惠普公司一起签约的，叫高新技术企业。13年我们在中国的衡水做了全世界最大的一个这个钢琴工厂，占地600多亩。然后这个也是欧洲德国在中国最大的钢琴建设项目。然后14年非常有幸，在中国总理李克强跟德国总理默克尔的共同建设下，我们在柏林签约，在中国青岛建设了全球第一个的欧米勒的钢琴研发中心。然后我们在18年在青岛呢也建设了一个伯兰斯勒青岛大剧院，还有在21年的时候，我们在中德生态园青岛的中德生态园做了全世界第一个艺术钢琴博物馆，以艺术家以伯兰斯勒钢琴为画，然后音乐与艺术呢在钢琴上擦出了火花。
Right.
也非常欢迎大家以后有时间可以到青岛走一走，看看全世界第一家的艺术钢琴博物馆。
Right. So while Jeffrey, definitely put ahead his advertisement for his own company, he also actually walked us through 3 very interesting history of his company. Basically, the 3 landmark sites opened in China are in Guangzhou, Hengshui, and also Qingdao, these 3 sites. And one important event is 2014, the Qingdao site, the research institute, was under the witness together by Premier Li Keqiang and also the then German Chancellor Merkel. So they together witnessed the opening of this research center. And since then, in 2018, they also opened a grand opera house in Qingdao. So definitely this world top-class Bluthner piano now has its roots in China, and China is becoming a very important market for it. So Willow Group, Xiaolun, please walk us through your experiences over the Chinese market. I know you also have very long history.
Yeah, so-called that there is water, there is a willow. That Willow Group is founded in 1872. This year is exactly our 150 jubilee. So that for 150 years we are dedicated only on one thing, is water power. water pump and water pump system. So there is water, there is Willow. We are widely used in the building service, water management, and in the industry. Right. And the Willow Group entered in China is in 27 years before. And we continue to grow and expand. Now business quite well. We are already the largest single country market of Willow Group. Right. And in China now we have 3 campuses, 15 branches, and 1,000 employees.
Right. Yeah. So you are also in China for 26 years, and you are in the pump business, which doesn't really sound to be very sexy, so to speak. However, we cannot live with pump. I can rest assured at this point. So you are definitely the daily necessity and the essential thing for everyday's life here in China. So Klaus, let me back to you. In terms of this time's German Chancellor's visit, there are a lot of discussions in Germany, I understand. There are a lot of controversies as well in terms of China's status, China's position, and the relationship with China. Should it be more cooperative or should it be more competitive? Olaf Scholz publicly mentioned that he didn't really like the word decoupling or the idea of decoupling. From your business standpoint of view, how do you view this relationship with China, competitive or cooperative?
Both, I have to say. And it's actually not unusual in the chemical industry. Also, we have in the same industry, we have customers that are our competitors and partners at the same time. So it's not an unusual situation. And I think here we have the same. We have lots of Chinese competitors, obviously, also as a company. And but we also, and that's very important for us, China is one of our most important markets in the chemical industry, and also for us as Evonik.
Right. So can you live without China, so to speak?
Hardly, I have to say. Maybe give you a few numbers. Today, China accounts for 11% of Evonik's sales. So we have sales of roughly 1.6 billion euros or dollars in China. Right. And we employ 2,700 people. Right. So, and we want to grow. We want to grow even more. China is in the chemical industry is the biggest chemical market in the world. Accounts for 40% of the global chemical market. So China is a heavyweight, and as a chemical company, you have to be in China.
Right.
And we want to be also.
Right, precisely. So Kai-Ting, while you are overseeing the China business for Beiersdorf, one of the world-famous cosmetic brand globally, how do you feel the world decoupling, if that's a possibility?
We are in a cosmetic business. It's it's family products. China, in terms of cosmetics, is already the world's number 2 market, but it has its own unique that is different from the Europe and America. Right. So we are quite happy to be here to provide a product and service to our consumers. It gives us the opportunity to be involved with our business models and involved with this market together with this market. Just to echo what Klaus has been said, it's cooperation and competitive. We also see Chinese competitive is also the growth, and as one of the top 10 cosmetic company worldwide, we won't be here, we will be here, and it is so good to compete with the competitors and also involve the business together.
Right. Who are the biggest competitors in China to you?
For us, that's another thing is, China's speed is very quiet. Sometimes you see today is the A company, the next you will see the B company just pop up because e-commerce business model.
Right. Okay.
So.
Right. So, Bluthner Piano Jeffrey， 我们刚才讨论了一下，就是假设如果说这个脱钩发生的话，中国市场是不是可以被替代？你们对于这个脱钩怎么来看？因为在德国国内有这样的一些讨论那么你们这些企业其实都是有非常多的工厂的在中国也是有很大的投资的。这件事情，你觉得竞合关系上跟中国市场你是怎么来看的？有没有可能去真正把这个脱钩发生？
那我觉得这个在我们这个市场，其他市场我不敢说，在音乐跟钢琴的市场，这个可能性不大。因为什么呢？第一，中国的人口，音乐这个东西，包括钢琴的使用以后，跟人口基数有关系。
Right.
这是第一。第二，除了人口以外，你还有经济条件，对吧？不是买一个钢琴就可以了。你除了 人口以外，这种基数，这个会有经济条件可以，那我觉得他才能买得起钢琴，特别伯兰斯勒，那这个呢，所以我就讲这个是一个很大的关系。除了经济完了以后呢，还有一个因素呢，就是它的文化背景。有些地方的文化背景，它不是学西洋乐器的，所以它的人口即使积累众多，它的总的基数也是不一样的。所以呢，我觉得这从各方面的元素来讲，在钢琴这个行业或者音乐这个行业，中国这个是不可替代的，所以是绝对不能脱钩的。
Right. So Jeffrey's view is from music and piano's perspective, nothing can survive without China for very obvious reasons. First of all, China has the population base and also has the economic environment, has the economic support who are able to afford those expensive instruments. And also we do have the cultural background here, a global culture who is willing to learn and accept the Western music. So those are all very important elements and factors of where we are and why a decoupling will not be able to happen and shall not happen. So Willow Group, Xiaolun, what is your view? Is your supply chain get disrupted at all during past several years?
Yeah, I think that first one that we all know that we enter the year 2022 with a great concern, but also that we should show the sense of optimism.
Right.
It's several times that our CEO addressed about the decoupling, this topic. And I think that all in all, that in general is a quite cooperative attitude with China. I'd like to share one very practical example from Willow Group. Just during the very tough, very hard of the pandemic period, that Willow Group announced to build up a new campus, new factory in China. So this is not very common. And that shows that one side, China really have a very huge potential. On the other side is our very high recognition on the Chinese market, on our employee and the overall situation.
Right. So you do have the commitment, be it good time or bad time. You love China market. And then you mentioned COVID, which I know during past 3 years was definitely a very difficult period for everyone because of the pandemic. And all of you have very big plans. You have a lot of employees. You have factories. So I assume for past 3 years, you're not easy. Kai-Ting, how did you guys manage to survive during past 3 years?
I think the most difficult time is this year, and it's not easy for everyone, but it's the moment that in the end, employee and the community where our employee lived and the local authority where our business operate, we're working together to find a way on the one hand to control the COVID and on the other hand, trying to keep the business operate. And I still remember that when we are invited to see what kind of measure can be implemented, we propose that, let's say, how about just we have a 15 minutes work COVID testing facility, and that will make sure that in case something has spread, we have the speed to control that. In the end, we're happy that this proposal has been in line with the local authorities and it has been implemented.
Right.
So I think this is the jointly work to tackle this issue that no one has been experienced before.
Right. So I think the situation is gradually getting better. Klaus, how did you guys manage this period of time? When I spoke to the CEO of Continental Tire, Veronica Gehart, yesterday, she basically told me that she holds a very optimistic view and she thinks the worst timing is gone already. So please walk us through your experiences and how you managed this difficult time during past 3 years.
Okay. Yeah, I hope she's right that the worst is over now. It was difficult. I have to say we kept all our production running in China in this closed loop system, so that worked pretty well. And I have to say maintaining existing business also worked pretty well.
Right.
Even despite all the problems. However, lots of supply chain problems. Yeah, we also have still a lot of imports coming from overseas. Delays, interruption. We couldn't maybe produce all the products we wanted to because of no raw materials. However, I have to say this we managed pretty well. What we see right now is, and that's for a multinational company like us, very important, the exchange between our innovation centers. And Shanghai is one of our innovation centers in the world.
Right.
And we need a lot of exchange to do joint research, joint innovation, and this is really falling short.
Right.
And there you see, it cannot be made up via Zoom or Teams meetings. And this is really, when it comes to introducing, creating new products, we are falling behind.
Right. So Jeffrey, 我们刚在说呢，就过去3年可能确实是比较艰难的这个时间哈，因为这个COVID， 所以呢大家都有一些生产上的这个困扰。从钢琴生产的角度，因为你们有很多厂你们的这个供应链有没有受到这个一些就是有一些局部的这个供应链受到影响？然后你们过去3年是怎么过来的？现在情况有没有好转一些？
当然，这个疫情呢，对所有的行业呢都会有一定的影响，包括我们的供应链。那我们供应链呢，因为在全国各地，包括有的是在海外，所以呢，这个呢会受到今年，特别是今年会受到比较严重的一个影响。因为各个地方的疫情的关系，它需要静默等等。那所以呢，这3年呢，讲实话，对我们企业，我觉得还好，因为我们企业本身是处在一个供不应求的阶段，所以呢，对我们来说影响还不算很大。
Right.
这个
So Jeffrey
当然我们
said. Sorry. So Jeffrey said basically because most of their supply chains are from overseas, so there are a lot of disruptions. However, in terms of supply and demand, they cannot meet up the demand. So in general, their business impact is more or less limited from COVID. So that's really good to hear. Okay, so let me ask you, Xiaolun, Willow Group is also a company with more than 100-year history. As a company with such a long history from a small family business in Germany, there are a lot of companies like that in Germany. How do you make sure that you can still be, be agile and innovative, keep the innovation while you go through all those cycles, be it political or economic turmoils?
Thank you. That's a very good question. That we really suffered a lot, and we have done a lot of the efforts on to encounter this kind of situation, such as to ensure that our supply chain still works, to ensure that we have continuous production, and also protect our employees. And from our side, we do a lot of the actions and backup plans, and also we should appreciate for the support from the Chinese government. No matter it's in Beijing, in Qinhuangdao, in Changzhou, we get a huge support. So all in all, that for our supply chain and the production, we not stopped even for a single day. We continue for the 3 years, although that a lot of the extra efforts. On the other side, that to be honest, that our sales and after sales, like marketing promotion, got some influence by this quarantine, and that's also make us to think about some new idea to address about our sales and the technical support after service, even the marketing promotion, so that we have done a lot of the trials in the digital way. So that's also some quite good surprise to us. So that all in all, for sales already got some influence, but all in all, that for the 3 years we continue growth. And last year we realized around 20% of the growth. So it's quite good. Yeah.
That is really good to hear. So who is the major contributor for that 20% growth? Which market is the biggest contributor?
You mean the market industry for us?
Okay. Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So Klaus, I was actually wanted to ask how in general a German company with such a long history can still stay agile, stay flexible, while still be innovative, not getting too cumbersome, and able to revolutionize itself, so to speak, and then make sure they can catch up with the trend and going through all those cycles and make sure they're still they're still healthy.
Yes, I think that's a general topic for everybody. For us, maybe to give you a direct example, this year we announced our new, let's say, strategy in terms of sustainability. And for us, sustainability in chemical industry is, of course, very exposed to this topic. Sustainability is the future growth driver in innovation, and therefore also for sales. And here we have incorporated this sustainability aspect in all our business processes, whether it comes to portfolio management, to innovation, and even company culture. And here we believe with this leading edge, we hope to generate to reinvent ourselves, like you said.
Right.
And looking to China, also China is very much looking for this kind of future. So it gives us also a very good position for participating in the growth in China.
Right. Okay. So you would be willing to invest in terms of to achieve the sustainability, as what you just mentioned, or reinvent yourself. You need huge investment. Where are you going to get a return from those investments? How quickly do you think you can generate return from those investments?
We just announced that we are going to invest 3 billion euros until 2030 in the development of new products with leading sustainability properties, and of course, chemicals is a very capital-intensive business. So we usually look for return of investment somewhere between 7 and 10 years. So that's the time horizon we're looking into. And of course, with this kind of products, in the end, we earn our money with selling superior products that have less CO2 footprint, less wastewater, use less energy. And since there is a big trend everywhere in the world, but also in Asia and in China, this is how we get the return.
Right. Cool. Biostuff, Kai-Ting, how you guys survived all those cycles and make sure that you're still a much loved brand here in China?
I think it's the innovation. And during the COVID, even in the 2020, I still remember that we accomplished our R&D center and in Shanghai, even that year. Even there's a delay, but still accomplished that. That is the second largest in the worldwide, just except the headquarters in Hamburg one. We have more than 100 scientists working together in there and with our marketing and supply chain people to make sure the product can be innovated in China for China. Just give it one example. We have spent enormous efforts in ingredients and raw materials. We have spent more than 10 years to innovate, find out a formulation that have a superior efficacy anti-pigment. That cost us 10 years. But we love that this product, this ingredient has been used in our product. Somehow, to make sure we are being more competitive in the China market, not only in China, but also worldwide. Innovation is something that we think is the key.
Right. So that's really good to hear. You still achieved your key R&D effort during COVID period. That's really an enormous effort. That's really great to hear. So Jeffrey, Klaus just touched a little bit upon the sustainability issue, which I was actually planning to ask you guys later. But since we've already touched this topic, I'm just having a curious question. You're in piano business. You need to cut a lot of wood to do that. So how do you, make sure that you have your sustainability in terms of, getting this goal for your business? Jeffrey, 我其实就是刚才因为 Klaus 提到了这个可持续发展，钢琴要用到很多木头，用到很多木材。那你们在这个可持续发展的这个目标上，你们是怎么看这个问题的？你砍了木头，你得种回去吧？
是这样的，因为现在这个是一个大的趋势。那我们呢，我们的木材呢，所有都是由木材供应商来提供的。
你们的木材都是从哪里进口的？Where do you get your import?
那我们的英版的木头，我们在俄罗斯阿尔卑斯山的云山，它榆林松非常白，它很特别，因为我们需要它来做英版。然后呢，它的是在高寒地区，所以呢，它的纹路非常细，所以它的震动会比较好。所以呢，在进口的时候，我们在使用的时候呢，他们已经的那个供应商已经在把这一块东西给帮我们做好了。另外，我们特别我们在青岛，对我们整个那个环境，对我们整个生产车间都是有要求的，因为我们在中德生态园对碳排放，包括海绵城市等等。就是让我们更具备了这个可以可持续发展的一个作为钢琴可持续发展的一个项目。
Right. Okay. So I was asking Jeffrey how they consider the question of sustainability and make sure the piano manufacturing is also environmentally friendly because they need to consume a lot of timber. He said that they import most of the timber from Russia and their supplier already made sure that all these things are green and took the carbon neutrality and also the carbon emission into the consideration. Well, in terms of their Qingdao plant, they did a lot of effort on the environmental side and make sure it's pollution free. So they have already taken this issue into consideration. So Klaus, let's move back to this time, Olaf Scholz's visit. So from your perspective, what do you think are the biggest agendas and the tasks that he needs to fulfill during his visit this time?
So that's a difficult question. I think it's, first of all, I have to say, and regardless what you sometimes elsewhere, I think most German industry and businesses are really welcoming his visit. I think it's good that he's doing this, and to get back into dialogue. Like I said, cooperation is what we have to look for, and I think that's very important. And you see where during the pandemic, with having not enough interaction, you sometimes lose the understanding of your customers and partners. And so I think this is a very important step, to come back into dialogue and understand each other's position. From my point of view, that's a very important topic of the visit. Right, exactly. To talk and to see each other, to know each other's position and to communicate is very, very important. So Kai-Ting, I don't know if your global CEO is visiting together with Scholz this time or not, but as a major German company, what is your speculation that from business perspective, Olaf Scholz's general goal to be achieved?
I think his visit already means a lot to the German company and the people who are working in German company here. In my personal opinion, I think if there's conflict, it usually comes from the miscommunications. It's very important for people to have the face-to-face talk and communication among each other. For us, this will create some confidence to all the employee working here, and also our business from Germany and China. It's a very good sign.
Right. So Jeffrey， 中文有一句话叫“见面三分情”啊，就是这个见面是非常重要的。你们的这个钢琴的 site 呢，在青岛的还是克强总理和这个默克尔共同见证的。所以你觉得这一次舒尔茨的这次来访有哪些重要的这些商业的这些计划需要达成的目标？他需要达成的？
我觉得最重要还是两国的关系。因为为什么两国关系好，我就觉得我们商业发展的可以更顺畅。所以我觉得他来最重要的是我们两国文化、经济各方面交流能够更顺畅。也是因为德国也是我们的传统友好的国家，所以呢，我就觉得最重要，我觉得对我们来说最重要的是把两国的关系做得越来越融洽，然后我们音乐是锦上添花。
Right. Jeffrey basically saying the most critical issue is actually bilateral relationship and the business relationships built upon the bilateral relationship. Once we have a very solid bilateral relationship, their business is going to be better. I think that's a very pragmatic and realistic view. So Xiaolun, from your perspective, what do you think are the things to be achieved?
To be honest, that from the former chancellor to the new one, in the very beginning, there are some controversy about whether he's positive or negative about China. And also that we heard a lot of things from the European side about decoupling this topic. So this time that after our 20大 government meeting, that it should be the first big leader from the European side to visit China. I think it's all in all is quite proactive. Just agree with all the other speakers that the relationship between the two big countries is very, very important. It can be helpful from all the perspectives. And also that I hopefully that this time, besides of the economic, besides of the cooperation between the countries, and also could be a good hint to back to normal. Especially for China about this pandemic. Yeah.
Right. Klaus, Xiaolun actually touched a very interesting topic. He said back to normal. And he said there are voices in Europe. So we understand that the voices, as I already mentioned, is your fear about China, fear of China. Why will that concern be raised domestically in Germany, and is this necessary?
Well, that's a difficult question. So I don't know. Fear. It's. I think there's a new kind of strategy in the European Union worked out to to have seen also China more as a rival than as a partner or market in the future than in the past. And I don't know why there has been created so much of debate. The COVID situation certainly is adding to this. And I don't think it's fear, it's also uncertainty. Maybe it's the better word. There's uncertainty about the new direction of the new government. Even though Xi Jinping is in charge already for 10 years, there's discussion about the new government. Of course, there's a new leadership team. So it's more the uncertainty part. There is the goal of the government to become more self-sufficient. What does it mean? Nobody knows. So I think fear is not the right translation. I think it's uncertainty, and bringing uncertainty away or building it away would be a big step. That's usually not good. Uncertainty creates speculation.
Right. I think that's a very fair explanation, and hopefully Shu's visit can erase those uncertainties and bring more certainties between these two countries and two markets. Well, Chinese President Xi Jinping always emphasized the importance of multilateral development, and our strategy is also based on this multilateral development. Globalization, multilateral trade is always encouraged by our government. So. Kai-Ting, it's very interesting to see from BioStoff perspective. You have so many brands. Can you talk a little bit about your brand acquisition strategy and how you bring that brand acquisition strategy to do your marketing in China? For instance, you have Nivea, you also have La Prairie. Those are very different products.
Yes, we are a big family. As you have mentioned, the two of our brands, we decided that we also have a Eucerin and also a local born brand that's called Mingtao, which one of the famous hair styling brand. I think, for us, still the most important one is our organic brand, Nivea. And you also asked me what's the competitiveness with the local competitors. I think as a global company, and we do back into the 1980s to bring the innovated product, cosmetic technology here. Moving forward, the collaboration between the two countries, two sides of the business communities, there's at least, I think there are more than one motto, goal or target that we can collectively working together, that is bring the sustainable products here.
Right.
And we have the biggest consumer bases in the worldwide. This is it's good news for the business world. But on the other hand, it's also the market where that we can implement. We have to implement the environment-friendly product to here. So far, we see some of the local, Youshang competitors working together on this one. But still, how to make a truly effective product, environment-friendly product together. This is something that we believe that Nivea can contribute something here in China for Chinese market and consumers.
Right. So while you're launching your marketing strategies in China and facing this huge consumer market, while there are uncertainty, as what Klaus just mentioned, how do you face those uncertainties and tackle those uncertainties?
For us, yes, we share the same, maybe some uncertainty together as an overall business world. On the other hand, one thing is certainty is that the market is here, the consumer is here. We're talking about the demographic things, but still even after 10 years, we will have the most consumer basis. And these consumers, their education background, and I believe is one of the highest in the worldwide compared to other countries. So how to fulfill their demands, this is something that is, we are working on that. The consumer base is certainty. So how to fulfill this is something we're working, and we believe there's a way that we can work with not only our competitors but also the whole business world on this one.
Right. So from your perspective, you haven't really felt any policy uncertainties, right? I understand that's what Klaus mentioned and worries him the most.
I think because we are a company that in the cosmetic business is a daily consumer goods. If we talk about self-sufficient, and this is the industry that has the most highly competitive market. Right. This is what something we already facing. So for us, this uncertainty is something we're not worried about because for sure the competitiveness is very high.
Right. Xiaolun, I noticed that you recently relocated or you add one headquarters or regional headquarters somewhere in Asia. So why such kind of, sort of redivision of the markets? Is there any consideration, special consideration?
I think that Willow Group has make it very clear address about this topic. For that, we have 3 headquarters. The first one is in Dortmund. It's our first headquarters. It's mainly for the world. And the second one that is China, mainly for the emerging markets. Emerging markets, we can call it like the developing countries. It's roughly 60 countries.
Right.
So that China Beijing is a headquarter. And also we have the USA, America market as USA as the third headquarter, something like that. So that is region for region that because we have some similarity from the countries for the developing countries like China, like other countries nearby us, that we have a lot of similarity. We have a lot of the synergies. Also that somehow that our cultural background is same. And for the European side, we call it a mature market. And also they share a lot of the same thing. That maybe for this reason that is for different region, different markets have different headquarters.
Right. So you basically you regionalized your supply chain organization, which can mitigate any global conflict if there is any, and also try to bring more synergies and create more efficiencies within the region. Am I understanding it correctly?
Yeah, exactly. Only for Asia Pacific that we have China, we have Korea, India, Malaysia. We all have the production bases, and also we have quite strong of the supply chain that can support us. Such as now Willow established the third factory, and we call it campus in Changzhou. Right. So that not only China, and also Willow put the Asia Pacific logistics center also in Changzhou. So that now we can tell it is not in China for China, but it's in China for global.
Right, in China for global. Okay, that's really good to hear. So Jeffrey, let me ask you this question. I think what Klaus mentioned, the uncertainty, especially the policy uncertainty. I also heard the similar view when I interviewed Jens Hildebrand, who is the chief representative of German Chamber of Commerce here in Beijing. He also voiced this concern. During your business experience as a German company general manager in China, have you experienced those policy uncertainties? And if there's any, how did you manage to get it through? Jeffrey, 所以我想问你的就是刚才 Klaus 提到的这个不确定性，包括就是经济的不确定性和政策的不确定性。我事实上在采访这个中德商会的 Jens Hildebrand 的时候，他也有提到过他觉得这很容易理解，因为任何一个人在一个市场上做生意，他都希望有确定性。就您的这个经验来讲，您是一个德国企业的这个 CEO， 在中国市场这么多年，你怎么来理解这个可能的不确定性和你怎么样来解释这个不确定性，把这个不确定性化到最小？
市场原本就是不确定的，当然在这个时段更不确定了。作为我们来说呢，那我们都是希望这个整个市场能够平稳，能够按照我们以前的规律去发展。那现在呢，我们现在这个情况，我们现在调整了整个战略。第一个，比如说我们原来是传统的销售模式，然后我们改了一个新的销售模式，跟教育更多的挂钩，把不确定的逐步变成相对未来可以确定的一个发展方向。因为原来我们相对来说，作为我们的销售来说，只是把钢琴销售出去，那我们现在不一样了，钢琴我们还把教育跟一起带到消费者手上，所以呢，我们把这种不确定逐步在这3年左右，我们跨到一个新的一个阶段。这个教育是永远是确定的，但是消费钢琴不一定长期确定，所以我们把它捆绑在一起，所以把从确定到不确定又走到新的确定。
Right. So what Jeffrey mentioned is that he thinks that uncertainty is a market norm, and they have gone through these uncertainties before. So nowadays, facing pandemic and all the other uncertainties, what he did is basically they're changing their sales model from the traditional sales model to an innovative one. They're bounding it with education, piano education, so make user stickiness more obvious. That's his logic. So, gentlemen, one very important question to you guys is your China growth strategy in the next 5 years' time. So let me start from Kai-Ting first. So how do you view Chinese market in next 5 or say 10 years' time, and what is your growth strategy here?
We have our roadmap for 3 to 5 years, and this is still we would like to become this according to our global strategy. And China still is a wide sport market for us to develop. Now we see the product has been used in first tier, second tier, but still we have many population live in the third, fourth tier cities, and an e-commerce involved. Previously, we have Jingdong, Tmall. Now we have the TikTok, Douyin, Chinese Douyin, and this is the market that has been involved a lot. We will be here to bring the innovating and sustainable product for us. On the other hand, we also have other brands like Shanti Lanka, which joined our family, Verso family last year, and gradually they will come into China from some time from this year, starting right now. So overall, being here and grow with the China market and Chinese bring the product to the Chinese consumer is the continuous strategy for us.
Right. So Klaus, Innovic is also investing heavily in China. I understand you have a huge site in Shanghai. So how do you view your China market development in the next 5 years' time?
Yeah, we still would like to continue with our growth strategy. We have done so in the past, and we just last year opened a new joint venture with a Chinese company, Winca. Right. So we brought products into China which we imported beforehand. So this is the way we want to continue to do. Very much focused on what I said earlier, sustainability. We believe here we have a leading edge. We have good technology. We want to develop also sustainable solutions in China, and it's part of our core strategy in China to focus on sustainability. And since this is also clearly within the Chinese strategy for the country, I think here we have a very good path to follow. So we want to invest, and like I said before, for us, Evonik, and that's also the uncertainty, plays a different role from my point of view, whether you have a long-term investment or you can also move short. But as a chemical company, if you do an investment, it's big and it's there for a long time.
Right.
And but this is certainly, and to put a long story short, China was and will be a very key market for Evonik in the future.
Right. So keep investing in this key market. We'll have a long-term perspective with sustainability in your mind. So Willow Group, what's your view on the China market development strategy?
Yeah, I think one side that we will continue our existing strategy for the development. In the past years, we already realized quite good growth. We will continue that. On the other side, that I want to address some perspective that may be interesting. The first one that in former years, we used to call ourselves is invisible champion. But now we totally change it. We are very clear industry leader. So we will strengthen about the company's branding. We will strengthen for our concept for the quality first, and also we will strengthen for the value selling. On the other side, that we are also considering to growth from the single products like water pump to the solution provider. This is also a new idea. We already set up the team and working on this. And also I want to address for the China very big and aggressive policy or guideline for the dual carbon peaking and the carbon neutralization. We think that is quite good, and we also want to do something inside. Give one example to you. Only for our commercial building business, in the past years we have over 10 billion RMB business existing market. So it has very huge market. We also want to use our expertise and our different kind of the solutions. We can get also quite good growth inside. Yeah.
Right. So Jeffrey, what is your grand plan? Jeffrey, 你想接下来3到5年在中国市场上的发展宏图大概是怎么样的？
我觉得未来3到5年，那我们有很多设想第一个最主要解决的就是我们的产能问题，因为钢琴的生产周期很长， 每一个产品，比如说我们跟着德国的完全的工艺做，多一道工艺是要多88遍，因为有88个琴键，所以呢，那所有的钢琴跟我们其他的产品不一样，它是可以，其他的可以用机器做，那我们这个是纯手工的。所以最后的组装都是纯手工的，而且就相当于一个工艺品，每个都非常精细。所以呢，我们最重要第一个，我能实现我们的产能在质量控制的前提下，能够逐步上升，我已经非常高兴了。现在因为我们大量，为什么我们开不同的工厂在不同的地方？因为我们讲产能还是不够满足中国市场的需要。
Right. Okay, so you have the biggest problem to tackle, which is your production capability, your production capacity. You need to expand your production capacity to meet the huge market demand from China. Well, that's really a good question to be bothered, I assume. So gentlemen, last but not least, I would actually need your opinion on this important question. So with the geopolitical tension and especially the cheap gas price being disrupted, because of the war in Russia and Ukraine, how would that actually impact your development for your products? If there's any price increase, will you be able to pass it to your downstream consumers? So Klaus, I would like to hear your view first.
Okay. Yeah, so this is, it's of course mainly affecting, I have to say, our operations in Europe, because there we see the biggest price increase. Yes, there's price increase across the world, but by far the biggest impact we see on our European operations.
Right.
And we still believe this is a temporary situation because there will be a new gas supply organized, and Europe will move much faster than anticipated originally to green energy. So, but there will be a few years which will be difficult. Right. And this, of course, is also, when we look today in where we are going to invest, of course, the cost of the investment plays a role, but also the competitiveness we have. And therefore, maybe Europe is, in the next years to come, a little bit in a disadvantageous position.
Right. Are you able to pass the price to the downstream consumer at all?
Yeah, partly. So we see the big inflation you see these days is part of this. So we managed pretty well in 2022 to pass on price increases. And our turnover went up by more than 20% only from price increase. And but it has its limits. So we also have seen certain industries which could not accept the price increase. But generally speaking, so far we have been very successful.
Right. Okay. Kai-Ting, what is your view as a consumer brand? Are you able to pass those kind of price increase to the end consumers?
I think in terms of China market, we have. I don't think we can fully transfer this. We have to absorb it to some extent by ourselves. On the other hand, is we will bring the innovative product to the consumer market. And for this innovation, well, that cost is sometimes it's much more higher than raw materials. So for this kind of product, usually the price will be different, I would say, in that way.
Right. Okay. So great. I think that brings the end to today's conclusion. Really, again, thanks again for your time speaking to us and our audiences in this critical timing. We're in a very difficult situation now. We have geopolitical conflict. We have a lot of uncertainties. The pandemic is just is getting better, but it's still there. There are a lot of inflation problems that we need to tackle. Europe, you have the energy crisis. You have all these problems, and in Asia we have our problems. But as what Klaus you just mentioned, in order to build trust and make sure that we can move further, erase those uncertainties and bring certainties and make sure a stable and steady relationship is developed is critical. And hopefully, Olaf Scholz can fulfill this agenda during his visit. And we look forward to more German business prosper in China. So thank you again, gentlemen, for today's talk. And I look forward to seeing you guys offline soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.